Hello, good afternoon, and welcome back to Ulti.tv's coverage of the World Great Grandmasters Beach Ultimate Club Championships, WGGMBUCC, here in Villa Seamus on the southeast of the gorgeous island of Sardinia. I mean, isn't it just? It is, it could not be any more beautiful. Benjamin Rees alongside the incomparable Ali Thomas.
Oh, very nice. Thank you. How long were you thinking about that one?
Honestly, I spent some time workshopping it during the lunch break. Yeah. Second semi-final, quarter-final, in fact, that we're showing today. You saw the first then with man down having an incredibly strong second half to speed and accelerate past the Jets, and now we're getting a team that a couple of teams we're now quite familiar with. Borderline, I think this is their fourth appearance on the stream, and a Team Finland outfit that we hadn't actually this time yesterday had not appeared on the show field, and now this is the third time we're streaming them in 5 games. It's funny how the schedule works out sometimes, isn't it?
Sometimes it throws things you don't really expect, but it's certainly a delight to watch them. They have some really, really solid plays and some very fun players to watch.
That they do. So just a couple of minutes until the game starts here. It is absolutely baking here. I mean, it is hot. It is seriously hot. And that is something that these players are going to have to cope with.
Yeah, I feel for the Team Finland side having to wear a very dark navy blue, which is going to probably warm up quite a lot, or at least certainly less than the white borderline jerseys.
Yeah, it's one of those occasions when winning the toss for kit is probably quite sneakily important.
Yeah, that it is.
But both of these teams bringing relatively short rosters. 11 players for Team Finland, only 10 for Borderline. So maybe the telling factor in this game will be how much that heat really saps it out of these players.
I think you're right on that one. And although perhaps Duane Bronson, being a guy who runs ultramarathons, can count as 2 players. What do you think?
I mean, certainly doesn't hurt, does it? Although ideally, I think you probably wouldn't run ultramarathons in conditions like this.
God, I think people who run ultramarathons are probably crazy enough to do anything.
I mean, I hope not. I mean, this could quite literally kill you, I think, if you try to run one in this. Because it is baking, and especially on this sand. The sand gets very hot as well. So you've got to keep those feet moving, which just tires you out a bit more. Ooh, I mean, it's perfect for a holiday. It's maybe a bit warm to play in, but would you rather play in this or in the pouring wind and rain? But I think I probably know which one I'd rather go for.
Yes, me too, definitely. Shout out to everybody watching on YouTube. Do remember to like this video, engage in the live chat, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Give the bell a little bit of a knock on its side to get notified every time we go live with ultimate content.
And if you enjoy our coverage enough that you want to put some money where our mouths are, then that is greatly appreciated. You can find all the details of our Patreon in the YouTube description, or you can go to our website ulti.tv for more in-depth information about what we do, and you can pledge as little as a couple of wedges a month just to. Oh no, a wedge is quite a big amount of money. A couple of coins a month just to kind of keep us ticking over, or if you want to, you can go higher and higher up just to make sure that we can keep Ultimate broadcasting the way we want to do it, which is free for all to enjoy on YouTube. So again, whether it's a small donation or whether you want to be an Ultimate producer like Patrick from madx or Stephen Cameron from Cameron & Co., anything you can donate is hugely appreciated.
And a big thanks to our new members from today, Nanu and Victor. Thank you so much for becoming patrons. We appreciate it so much. You cannot imagine how much we really, really do appreciate it.
I mean, it's partly because it allows us to be places like this, which I'll be honest, it's not the worst gig I've ever had.
Yeah.
But also because I think tournaments like this deserve the coverage that I feel that we can provide.
I totally agree, and I think some of these players are a little bit surprised that the Great Grandmasters division is being streamed, but just because these players are older does not mean that the calibre of play is still not fantastic to watch and really enjoyable.
I know the level of the quality of Ultimate across this tournament has been phenomenal, and I'm thinking partly because he has bought us a round of beers thanks to Steve Jagger of Flash. 20 years ago when he and Tom Stiles were starting Blockstack, that was it. You know, the ultimate live streaming wasn't a thing. And a lot of these players, you know, they'll have represented their country internationally 30, 35 years ago. And the idea that, you know, a tournament, any tournament would be streamed, would be available for people to watch, let alone a tournament like this, was probably a pipe dream. And I'm so happy that we're able to do it.
I think they are as well, which was always lovely to see and hear.
Yeah, the feedback we've been getting from people on the ground, I say on the ground, on the sand here, it's a little bit heartwarming actually, and you know, it makes us very happy because we love doing it. Arimo will pull with the pink Euro disc, and we are underway here in our second quarterfinal. The lefty Daniel McConville, who is part of the Rock of the Hand linker along with Fox. Fox bombs it deep for Turbo Tory. Here we go. Well, borderline. So I think they start as they mean to go on.
I couldn't agree more. That is a very, very classic look for Borderline. You've got Fox, you've got McConville in the handler set, and you've got John Turbo Turi going deep for a score.
Well, that was quick. It's not quite Route 1 Ultimate, but it only took a very small diversion. And hey, you know, this is the thing. This is where you need to stop the deep looks, because if you don't, especially with throwers the caliber that Borderline have, they can just kill you in that first pass, and then all of a sudden, you know, they're getting their O-line, you know, their O-line cutters off. They're getting a rest, you know, getting in the shade, getting some water on, and you know, the quicker you can hold your O points, it gives you the more chance to try and turn the disc over on D.
Truer words were never spoken. And I think if Team Finland didn't know already, they now definitely know that Turi is not one that you want to let get deep.
And this could so easily have been a different matchup. Team Finland were third in Pool A. They lost to America and to Man Down in the game we streamed this morning. Borderline, in the end, finished top on a three-way tie after they dispatched Jets earlier today to finish second in the pool. Jets third, and we saw them go down in a phenomenal second-half performance. 2-man down, and in the end, the great Swedes finished fourth, and they went down in a tight contest to America in one of the quarterfinals, with Young Legends dispatching Flash in the other.
Speaking of the great Swedes, one of them fielded that pull for Team Finland, dished it off.
I like as well that everyone's kind of hanging around to watch the games, you know, soak up the atmosphere and soak up some of the local beverages as well. There's a stoppage, but I don't think Vasquio realised, because he was working so hard to get free for no reward.
I mean, technically a travel isn't a stoppage, but most people do treat it as one. So I think Vitari, just as he turned around, perhaps moved upfield a little more than he should have.
So the swing goes to Hispacker. Underneath, that's a tight snag there made by Ristiniemi.
Just on the tips of the fingers there.
Hey, as long as it sticks, it doesn't matter how. Here's Vasquio, who's going to hold it because there is a pick.
I do love just watching Hispacker get down so low to the ground to make her throws.
It's one of the advantages of being a smaller player, is that those low releases, which especially against taller matchups, are so difficult to stop, and especially in windy conditions as well, they can be a huge advantage. I always enjoy watching shorter players dominate on the field. That is low, but it is not low enough to stop it being rescued by Vasquio. Vasquio is looking downfield, finds another inside channel to Vitari. This is now after Hastebacker, as Young Legends just doing some contemplation and meditation on the far sideline. That's a great reaching grab there by Vitari, made that look easy. Dumps off to Hastebacker. Hastebacker squeezes that down the sideline into the end zone for Vasquio. Not quite yet. On the doorstep though, and the push pass. Well, it's not the prettiest push pass I've ever seen, but it seemed to work all the same.
I mean, any completed push pass is pretty spectacular in slightly windy any conditions that aren't indoors. But for a score, it is cheeky beyond belief.
The thing is, it's a good option because, especially in those really tight up the line cuts, it's difficult to get a lot of spin on the forehand. Although I know it actually did get a lot of spin on the push pass, and especially, and if you've already made the pivot, you can't get the reach around with that offhand backhand that you might be able to do with a push pass. So I think, you know, especially in those tight congested spaces, push passes, especially for that up the line cut, not a bad option.
Just take a lesson from lacrosse in the last game and throw a grandad backhand.
If you can, it's an option.
Need that wrist mobility. You can see Fox just reaching out, trying to get that bid, but it looks like he maybe stumbled, couldn't quite get the length that he wanted, and Vasquio able to safely collect. And then, yeah, just dishes it off to Vittori.
Serves it on a plate for him. So Arimo will pull once more, shielding the sun from his eyes.
That's a beautiful shot of the mountains in the background there. Gosh, it's nice here.
It's honestly, like, for your first full-time commentary gig, I think you've done all right.
Yeah.
I think you've done all right, Ali.
Not quite sure how I managed to swing that one. I mean, I have a stellar resume, and I'm very professional.
Of course, yes. Jake the dog is just, he wants to get involved. I mean, he's in the right colours, so I say let him on. So he just tries to shepherd him out of the back of the, or dog herd out.
There he is. Off he goes.
And finally, Arimo gets ready to pull. Looking towards the back of the end zone. Beautiful arc. Will keep it inbounds. And the first pass goes to McConville. McConville looking for the break. Layout snag. Doesn't come up from Bedard.
Absolutely heroic effort, though.
And now here's Arimo. Arimo puts it deep. He's got a retriever and he hits him in stride. Jari Koivisto, inch perfect put. The Finns with a break. It's 2-1.
And we're seeing some of this slightly more indoor style of ultimate that we also saw from the great Swedes earlier today. When the conditions are this calm, all sorts of blades, overheads and so on are absolutely on. And it makes it so hard for the defense to basically predict what's going to happen next and cover it.
It's almost like there's two styles of beach ultimate. One is where you get the strong winds and, you know, it's a bit of a grind and it's about putting lots of revolutions on the disc and kind of putting lots of touch on the throws. And the others when it's really calm, where it almost is like a bigger pitch indoors. It's just obviously a lot harder to run. And actually the fact that, you know, a lot of those Nordic countries, you know, indoors is a staple over the winter because you don't have the field outside to play on. You know, and thinking about things like the like Hello Stockholm, you know, these big indoor tournaments where they're played almost on beach-sized pitches.
Yes.
You've got a little bit of use playing that style of ultimate.
Certainly very useful practice to have.
Another big pull from the Finns. Their pulling has been on point so far this game. And Fox jacks it once more. This time it's Bedard engaged, and Bedard can't make the snag. Just enough pressure from Taivalkoski to prevent the disc going to hand.
I think also potentially a little bit of a selling from Taivalkoski going up quite early and fooling that player into also stopping and going up early instead of trusting his own reading.
Yeah, if he'd kind of stayed and tried to track it, he would have got it. And he did have it in his hand for a bit as well. But the Finns, they want to strike in one pass. They can't quite do it. It's overthrown out the back of the end zone. Michael Shoranta was the target. But as it is, it's another turnover, and Fox will jog over to this, pick it up, bring it to the front of the end zone, and I wonder if he fancies just jacking it again as well. Just play end zone to end zone.
A little bit of frisbee tennis.
Right, it's a bit like when you see in a football match when you just see goalkeepers just like clear it deep, and it goes to the other goalkeeper, and then the same things happen again, and they take the other 10 players out of the pitch for a bit. Hopefully not, obviously, for these teams. I'm sure they would much rather see the completions.
Yes, I imagine you're right there.
So Shoranta is in position, ready to put the mark on. Fox with that no pivot around backhand. Nestles neatly in the glove. Beautiful inside break to Bronson, who's got that distinctive flap cap on, trying to shield the back of his neck from the sun. Bedard, nice gloves on both hands. He finds Furland. Motion to receiver underneath and takes that receiver. It's Fox coming back, and Fox ditches it off to Bedard. Bedard puts it deep. At the back of the end zone, something to worry about. Bronson can't get there because Arimo comes over the top to knock it out of play.
And we'll just see that again here. A little bit fast to tell if there was any contact from Arimo, but there's certainly going to be a bit of discussion about it.
Yeah, I always think if you're in doubt, it's better to call it, have the conversation. If need be, you can retract it, you'll accept it, you'll contest it. But the important thing is, you know, you take the time to have the discussion, and if it's, you know, if you decide that nothing's there, it's okay. And in the end, any call that there is has been retracted. So Arimo will bring the disc in from his end zone line. And Arimo, well, he doesn't want to put it deep again. He's looking for Shoranta just off the fingertips. Well, it's not high percentage necessarily, but it's exciting.
And exactly what you predicted has come true. We are seeing some big, big discs just thrown back and forth.
Sometimes this happens where you feel like you need to get one to click because it opens up your offense, and it's happened again. Here's Fox, tried to get the jump in. Bronson's all action, but that time he didn't have enough, and he just pops it in to Henry Furland. And the borderline get back on the board, tying us up once more at 2s. I think there is a style of play developing very strongly in this game, Ali.
I couldn't agree more, and I'm really interested to see what defences both teams are going to try to bring out to neutralise each other's deep game. Possibly some force middle, possibly some zone, maybe some poaching. Can't wait to see.
There's a reason why teams like putting it deep early, because if you've shown that you can, you have those hucks in the locker, and you can complete them with a decent regularity, it really changes the way the defense thinks. Because obviously, if you can huck it the length of the field in one pass, that's it. It takes everyone else out of the play, really. Finishes the points quickly. So you're always thinking about, shading deep, as you mentioned, maybe changing your defense, because even if then, because that will, give you space to grind it underneath. And maybe when that happens, the deep begins to open up again, seeing the young legends. They have located the shade on the sideline, and they've all seemingly found some deck chairs to lounge in. Smart.
So German, so German.
It is a veteran move, that one. Ooh, he crab caught the pull. That was maybe slightly nervous, but I'm sure he knew what he was doing. He obviously has got a lot more experience than I, has Vasquio, who's the coach of this team. Here's Vitari with a little dump off to Rista Niemi. And now here's Baka. Towards the sideline for Maninen. We saw the backwards 4 on his white jersey. On this kind of grey-blue, it's the regular 4. Fakes towards the end zone. Hacebackers on the break side. Trying to maybe think about the over-the-top, perhaps. Not seeing it. Still count rising. That's up 8, 9. Just about getting off to Hacebacker. Does very well to avoid contact. And the defender is nowhere close on the throw to Timo Vasquio. Finland back in front at 3-2.
One thing I want to shout out there is Eric Bedard counting the stall, and that felt like a proper 10 seconds. So I think you were mentioning the other day, sometimes you've been commentating and timing stall outs, and it seems like stall outs generally happen on average at about 7 seconds in. But credit to Bedard for counting very slowly and very deliberately, because that rule there, the 10-second rule, is simply there to prevent players from holding onto the disc for minutes at a time, right? So it's not necessarily a goal to get a stall out. It's just, this is a rule we have to prevent people from, standing there for 10 minutes with the frisbee.
But also I like that he was making the count nice and loud. Because that means we know what's going on. But most importantly, it lets his teammates know what's going on. And that means you change your position a little bit defensively. You're on the lookout because you know the disc is going to go up soon. You're perhaps ready for some swill to go up. You keep that stall count loud. It keeps your teammates informed. And it probably doesn't hurt to put a little bit of chill in an opponent as well.
Yes, definitely. Although I do disapprove of shouting the stall in your opponent's face.
I mean, yes. Certainly that is a little bit over the top.
That's a beautiful arcing pull.
Hey, the Finns know how to pull, I'll tell you that much. Fox looking underneath this time. You're seeing how the unders have been opened up because the deep game was so effective. Furland works to get free and tried to squeeze that one past Tyvalkovsky. And no foul called, so it's going to be the turn.
Oh, just zipped into his leg there.
Turi didn't look particularly happy with it. I think he felt that the disc came out so awkwardly that he thought almost like there must have been a foul. But credit to Tyvalkovsky, who was a real menace on the force there. And what a cut, because Scioranta is so free, and Fox is left in the sand, in the dust. And it's another break for the Finns. They're up 4-2.
Finns are looking really solid. And I mean, I think part of it is their handler defense and their marking. They're putting a lot of pressure on the throwers. Some might argue too much pressure, but no fouls have been called thus far. So despite the borderline players doing really well, they're setting up their cuts really nicely. If you watch the downfield, there's always a fake, always a setup. It's the handlers that are just, I think, struggling a little bit to get out the throws that they want.
I mean, this is a wonderful cut because Fox is just not, he's not really that close. He puts the arm out, but I think he knows he's beaten.
Yeah, well boxed out, really squaring up the shoulder, so Fox would have to sort of portal through Sharanta to get anywhere near the disc.
And if he's able to do that, then I would like to know how.
I think Woofduff would probably make a rule against it.
Hey, why not? Some athletes just have natural gifts. For the first time in, well, forever almost, that's an out-of-bounds pull from the Finns. So McConville's going to get the chance to bring that up from the brick mark.
Well, it's the last game of the day. Perhaps arms and shoulders are getting a little bit tired. Well, I say last game of the day. Each team does only have 2 games per day.
But it is the second of those. It looks like a side stack look to start with. Trying to get initiation going nice and early. They find Bedard coming underneath from the back. Continuation. We know Turi's got pace, but even he couldn't chase that one down.
Yeah, it looked like it might have been quite far out of bounds as well. So even if he had been able to get level with it, it would have been a big ask to actually reel it into the pitch.
So the tall, lean figure of Tapio Arimo will bring the disc in from the front of the end zone. It was only when he was marking the side stack at this near side I kind of realised exactly how tall he is. It's deceptive. He's got very long limbs.
Did you say 6'5"?
I have no idea. I'm terrible at guessing things. Everyone looks tall to me. That one is a little bit underthrown, and it allowed Fox to get a hand in there, and he followed it up nicely as well. Here's Bedard, borderline looking to strike quickly. There's the up line cut. McConville to space. Brilliant grab there from Frank Phillips, but they're not in the end zone yet. Well, the Finns did it earlier, and now borderline with a push-pass score of their own from Phillips.
Phillips just dusting his hands off on his shirt after that push-pass score, almost as if trying to wipe off the filth that was that pass. I mean, it's incredible. We had almost an exact mirror of the previous point.
It's funny how that happens sometimes, isn't it? Very strange. But that will be 4-3, the current scoreline. So borderline, they're not letting Finland get out of reach by any stretch of the imagination.
That was one of those rare points that you do get on beach where you really do forget that these players are running on sand, because Fox absolutely lasered that put to Bedard, who was going at pace. Bedard immediately turns and throws to Phillips. It just happened so fast. Bang, bang, bang. We're seeing it again. And an incredible save from Phillips.
I mean, that is a thing of beauty.
And then up the line, little push pass. Back
you know, there's the thing about the conservation of greatness. After you do it, you know, and make an amazing catch, you should stick with a safe, sensible throw. Nonsense.
Here's the conservation as the borderline pull sails out of bounds. Little consolation to Team Finland here. Sorry, we're just correcting the score here. It should be 4-3. There we go.
Yeah, a little bit of sand in the electronic scoreboard, which does happen from time to time. Honestly, the stuff gets everywhere. As I'm sure anyone who spent any amount of time at the beach will know. Manninen brings in the disc from the brick mark. Whoa! How did Daniel McConville come up with that? That's ridiculous.
That is insane. Jesus.
I mean, all I could do was like laugh in awe. It's a ridiculous bid. And the throw is low that time. It's a shame that they couldn't capitalise. Seth Martin could only find the sand, and McConnell's phenomenal effort goes to waste. I mean, honestly, just it is stupid. It's just a stupid play. And I don't mean that in any detrimental way. It's just like, you should not be able to do that, especially the great Grandmaster.
Yeah, it just goes to show Frisbee at any level can always have incredible, incredible moments.
Yeah, the athleticism on display certainly belies the age bracket. Here's Aki Vetari.
Oh, Hestbacher jinking and jiving. Oh.
The throw's a bit behind in the end, so she couldn't quite reel it in. You can see she was trying to reach over the back shoulder. This is why accuracy is so important. Yes, it got to her, but it wasn't quite where it needed to be. Here's Bronson. Bronson with a shot towards the near sideline for Dorf. And Dorf brings it in. It's the first time we've seen him on the pitch today, and he's made it count because now we're tied up once more. It is 4 each.
Some incredibly fluid offense from borderline there. And I think the Finns maybe getting just a little bit tired. I think Sharanta in particular was quite far. Oh, sorry, Manninen was quite far away from his player. Hopefully this is not going to be a runaway train for borderline.
I know that the production crew hate it when we do this. You can see a replay of the score again there. Is there any way we could get a replay of that McConville layout? I know it's bad form to ask for it in case we don't have it, but it was so ridiculous that I'm just dying to see it again.
Oh, maybe at the end of the video we can get a highlight reel, or perhaps at halftime. Oh, here it is.
Here we go. I'll tell you what I love about it. It's how little contact he makes. He reaches in, grabs the disc, and then he kind of rolls away to avoid kind of clattering the opponent. It is a picture. Honestly, there are almost not enough superlatives to describe it.
It's the fact he was behind him and still managed to get the disc, snag the disc out from in front.
And then, but seemed to barely touch him. Honestly, it's just silly, isn't it?
In a good way.
Finland looking to put themselves back up in this game. They are up 1 break to the good, as borderline will try and take things back on serve. There's no one on the force here. Can they take advantage? Would have been a good opportunity to bounce that off with the give-go. You know how often the player with the disc or the player releasing the disc is the most dangerous threat on the field, especially when there's no force. Here's Arimo looking towards the break side with deliberate intent, but Arimo doesn't find anything. Maybe looking for an inside window. Very good force and has to take the reset behind. Tavaskio really whips the forehand across the pitch. Here's Manninen. Manninen knows a miscommunication. I'm not sure if the receiver maybe left it for a teammate he thought was in a better position. Fox picks it up, and you know that Fox wanted to put it deep. But this time discretion is the better part of valor, and instead he just lasers one. Scythes it down the pitch into the hands of Dorf. Barely felt like he had to move. Shows the hammer a little bit and instead goes with the flick. We know that Turbo's fast on the ground. That time, though, it wasn't the speed that got him free. It was just the little bit of shake and bake in the end zone. Gets his body behind the disc. Borderline back on serve.
Gosh, this is an incredible game here. Borderline sneaking ahead of Team Finland on the scoreline, and it looks like the Finns are maybe a little bit more tired than borderline are at this point.
They do have one more player on the roster, but you know it's not necessarily about how many players you have, it's about how effectively you can utilize them all. Make sure every player is getting the right amount of minutes, because obviously you don't want your best players to play every point, because then they won't be able to play at their best. But on the other hand, you need to have them on the pitch enough that they're able to make a difference. It's a very fine balancing act. And it's also about finding the balance of the line as well, because you want to make sure you've got players who are good at various different parts of the game. You know, you want to make sure that if you've got players who have exceptional chemistry, you want to keep that on. It's always a fine line that you have to tread.
Yeah, very difficult as a coach to call, lines. It doesn't look like there have been many coaches with clipboards, calling players onto the line. People kind of happy to call themselves on and off as needed.
Yeah, it helps when you've played with players for so long that,
yes,
I think probably you're not going to have a bruised ego if someone says, actually, I would like to play this point instead.
Oh, lovely movement from Arimo.
That is a delicious inside break. Arimo gets it, takes off, but Kusanen instead resets it back into the middle to the rock of this finish line, Arimo.
He's just so good at getting free.
Ooh, what an inside break. The IO shape almost took it around him and it lost him for a second, but he got his eyes set quickly enough. It basically fell right into his lap, and with it put in his lap, just dished it off for the goal.
Arimo seems to be moving faster on this sand and changing direction quicker than a player of his size really, I feel, should be allowed to. I mean, that's my opinion.
One of the advantages of having long limbs, especially on the sand, is that if you can really utilize the full length of your stride, you're actually spending less time touching the sand. And I know I made this point a couple of days ago, and people laughed at me because it is funny. But the optimal way of running on sand is not to touch the sand, because it just really bogs you down. But having long strides is a good way to take advantage of that.
So we'll see here. Arimo swings and then immediately moved into a place where he can be a threat.
And this is just the audacity of this. Look at it, but he knows it's going around, so he looks, tracks it, and then, he will scarcely have an easier assist all day.
Yes. Only a few feet needed to put it in the goal.
So, 5 apiece here as the half-time hooter goes, so we will finish this point, add 1, which means it will be half at 7, which it would have been anyway. But that's good to know as Fox looks deep. He's looking for Turbo, his favourite target deep. The bid does not get there, and it is one pass ultimate. Devastating efficiency from borderline, and I love that Turi went and helped Vetari off the sand as well. Good spirit shown there from both sides, and it is 6-5 to borderline. And this is where you have to back them, especially off the pool, because they are more than happy to motor off deep. And Fox especially, his eyes just seem to light up when there's a deep cut available.
Of course, with his ADL background, the pitches are a lot bigger, so players have to have bigger throws than most kind of, I say, normal ultimate players, those playing on WFDF standard pitches. So, and also, having a short point, as you said earlier, it's just more efficient, means you don't tire out your players as much. Just a good overall idea.
Yeah, as I think we mentioned this a couple of days ago, but he is the oldest player ever to play in the semi-pro game, which is some achievement. And with throws like that, as you mentioned, you can see why he'd be a real threat on the bigger fields.
Yeah, don't need to have him running around too much. Just give him the disc and have him absolutely launch it.
I mean, when you can boost it like that, it must be so difficult not to do it all the time, because believe me, if I could throw that, I would I would certainly look off better options in favour of just jacking it.
I think I want to be Ed Fox when I grow up.
You know what? I think I do a little bit as well. Although I don't know about necessarily playing in the pro game. I don't think that's for me. This one is bladed around to Arimo. Nice way to utilise that space again. A nice, almost indoorsy style throw to access that pocket. Goes towards the break side. There's a big swing available to Manon, and they do take it. Goes to his knees to get that backboard behind the disc. Arimo looks down the line and back into the centre. It is low, but not a problem for Vasquio. Continuation to the break side. We'll tie the game at 6 apiece. Vittoria with the catch. You know what that means, don't you, Ali?
Galaxy point!
For the second game in a row, we have Galaxy point here on field 1. Sudden death to take half with the ties knotted. With the sides knotted at 6 apiece and half at 7.
That was some beautiful, lofty, I've got the word elegant in my head. You know,
yes,
some
there
of
was a certain elegance to it, wasn't there?
Yeah, just these throws. I mean, some of them had to be kind of scooped off the floor or kind of jumped for, but they just looked so easy and pretty. And you can tell it's late in the day. I'm just enjoying so much watching all of these games.
I mean, I'll be honest, it's difficult not to. Best job in the world, isn't it?
Yeah, although I really want to play now, having watched all this as well.
It's made it a little bit easier for me by the fact that I'm 20 years too young.
Yes.
Also, these players are all miles better than I am.
Maybe we can have another pickup game afterwards.
Well, maybe. We'll see what we can do. So McConville finds Fox on the sideline, is Bedard. Pivots, gets the mark biting. Just enough to squeeze that inside channel through to McConville. McConville looks in the backfield, doesn't like it. Bedard up line. The bid comes in there and it's late. Ty Volkowski says that, yeah, sorry, I got a bit too much of you there. It goes back to exactly where he was. And that's not enough to put a force on Bedard. In stride for Turi. That will take us into half with the Americans borderline up 7-6 on Team Finland.
And Turi is just such a threat in the end zone. Also, really nice cut. I think it was slightly angled toward the outside just to give a bigger window for the thrower. And that is just textbook end zone cutting.
Yeah, if you're cutting horizontally, you've got so little margin for error. But as you mentioned, that angle just creates a bit more choice to get that shape, really, to roll it around the defender. And 7-6, that might be the best half of Ultimate from both sides we've seen all tournament.
So we'll now have the Finns switching sides to the side that they initially started on, so almost as if half didn't happen. I think they're also receiving the pull.
They are. Everything's on serve, as you mentioned, especially because we don't have the break for half in these short 45-minute games. It is essentially as if the halftime never happened. But if a halftime happens and no one takes a break to notice it, did it even happen?
Nice. If a half falls in the woods. That was just a much less funny version of your joke.
See, this is what 4 years of a philosophy degree got me.
Oh, there we go.
Maybe one reference a tournament. I made good life choices.
So we have both teams neither willing to give any unit of measurement, whether it be an inch, a centimetre or a millimetre in this game. It's incredibly close.
It's going to be Dorf to pull. He's going for a pretty flat backhand with a little bit of inside out, and it's going to land in the back of the end zone. Brilliant pull from Dorf. Hastebacker has it in the end zone. Finds the upline cut from Vasquio. Vasquio looking, undercut develops, decides to take the option, fumbles, well, doesn't fumble the disc, but maybe fumbles himself a little bit, and Hastebacker again just about worms their way free up line. That's such good short area quickness from Hastebacker. Fakes the inside, there's the swing available, and there's a pick. That's why everyone stopped.
That was an incredible fake from Hastebacker. Absolutely bringing Martin to his knees there.
You're very much enjoying watching her, aren't you?
I really, really am. Need to look up some old Finnish nationals, see if they were streamed anywhere.
Here's Vasquio. Vasquio with the put to space. Dorf isn't close enough. Manninen makes the catch. The captain of this Finnish side brings them level at 7 each.
Oh my God. I'm just...
This could go all the way, couldn't it?
Yes, it really could. And that would be, you know, universe points are so exciting when it's just been trading all the way. I know it's a bit early to call a universe point, but I think that's though probably not what the teams are hoping for, definitely what we're hoping for here.
It wouldn't be the first time that I'd called a Bula event with some crazy universe point finishes.
And credit to the Finns for being able to work the disc out of their own end zone, because they got that first pass off, but they were still relatively deep in their own end zone.
They were so unfazed by it.
Yeah. Cool as a cucumber.
Cool as a whole freezer full of them. Would you keep? I don't think you'd keep cucumbers in a freezer.
Wouldn't recommend it, no.
So here's the pull from Arimo. Seems to have got his eye on a little bit again. That one's a little bit shy of the end zone when it lands, though. First throw goes to Fox. They're forcing backhand now because they see that flick pull's been very effective. And a long deep. This time, it's not Fox with the cannon, but Bedard. But Turbo is a reliable target all the same, and it's back in front for borderline at 8-7.
He runs to slap Arimo's hand. There's some really excellent spirit being shown from both these teams here. But yeah, I don't know what the Finns can really do about Turi. It looks like they are trying to force him under, but his changes of direction are just too quick.
It's tricky, isn't it? Because especially on beach where there's a lot of field to cover for 5 people, zones perhaps especially aren't as effective, especially when there's maybe a breath of wind, but not much more.
Certainly not enough to justify a zone. The people do play zone indoors, but that's obviously on a much smaller pitch.
And to be fair, it gets really windy indoors. Oh, it's so windy, so windy.
If you turn on a wind machine, it certainly would be.
Sorry, it's been a long time since I've done some heckling at an indoor tournament, and I miss it.
Though, to be fair, we once, in order to practice zone when we were inside the Cranford Superdome, we tacoed the disc and just played with that.
Interesting. I mean, poor disc, but...
Yeah, although it kept straightening itself out, so we had to keep bending it.
Had a mind of its own. This ball from McConville is going to land. I think that nutmegged America player.
Way, 10 push-ups.
I was going to... Oh, is it push-up? I thought he has to buy a beer.
I think it depends which tournament you go to and how seriously they're taking the party.
I imagine at this tournament the beer is probably preferable to the push-ups. So I don't know who that was, but I think they owe McConville a bottle of Iknusa.
Local Sardinian beer.
Isn't it good?
It's quite
This
delicious.
one sits up a little bit, but Manninen has it before Fox can get there. He puts one up towards the end zone. It's a bit floaty. The bid from Dorf is a bit late on the back, and I think Dorf knows it as well. Not sure whether it was in the end zone, though.
Is he calling a force out foul, a force in foul? It's some kind of foul, but it's not a goal.
Yeah, there was contact, but I don't think the contact was what forced him to not be in the end zone. And again, good spirit from Dorf, uncontesting it.
Yeah, so players just making sure they're in the positions that they were in when the foul was called. And nobody in the end zone. Oh, spoke too soon.
Well.
Violation call potentially, or a pick. seems to be...
It was very anticlimactic, really. And the disc is indeed going to go back to Vitari. You might be able to see he's got a little bit of physio tape on that inside right bicep. Bicep's the one on the inside, right? The tricep's the one on the outside.
Yes.
Oh, well, that is a busted coverage. Hacebacker, I mean, she's great at getting free in tight spaces. That was not that. That was just somehow seeing a little seam in the defense, running through it, and taking advantage of the fact that she snuck past borderline unnoticed to tie us up at 8.
I mean, when you watch her, her changes of direction are just so quick. So she's just on the right-hand side. Oh, not quite, actually. You can see her sleeve. There we go. And she just absolutely... Oh, no, that's the first point that wasn't a point. So we've got take 2 here. Disc is tapped in.
And I like that, you know, he knows that there's no one in the end zone, so why am I even going to bother looking there? The defender, I think it's double coverage on the dump. And, yeah, Hacebacker acts like she's been there before, which, I mean, we've seen this weekend. She certainly has.
Yeah, just racing fast. So fast on sand. I can't imagine how fast she is on grass.
Not really fair, is it?
No.
Here's Fox. Fakes the big, as he always does want to do. Finds Bedard underneath. Wow, he really got the mark. Not just biting, but taking a huge old chomp out of that one. Here's Bronson. Bronson takes the reset back to McConville, and the lefty sits one out for Bedard to chug along to. Now here's Fox being forced backhand because they know what a threat that flick bomb is. Goes to McConville. McConville shows the hammer for a little bit. Quickly puts it back in the box. And from the toolbox, he just pulls a dump instead. Now here's Turbo. Oh, that is a big old hand block. Someone needs to wipe that disc because it's got a hand block all over it.
So Turo just pointing to where the disc went out, as he probably had a good perspective on his throw as it sailed out of bounds.
I mean, you could hear it, like, not even with our headphones on. It was a big old slap. And Arimo using that big wingspan to full effectiveness there.
Long limbs are very useful when you are forcing someone.
Because it wasn't just a fingertip on it. I mean, it felt like a proper palm.
Yeah, definitely agreed.
And that's why it, you know, it motored out of the sidelines so quickly. And just to always rub it in, seeing it in super slow motion. Tell you what, big hands don't hurt in a situation like that.
No, certainly not.
And so Arimo has a little bit of time to get that sting out of his palm, and now he brings it in on the sideline.
I think it was his left hand anyway, so foul call on the...
I think it's the reset cut here. Bedard matched up against his Finnish opponent. Nice little slap of hands afterwards. I think that is Vasquio wearing the white hat. Nice inside break across the field. Finds a player on the far side. Fakes downfield. Now goes into the backfield instead. On the near sideline is Kusanen.
Got Fox poaching deep.
And that one is just a little bit overthrown for Vasquio. And it was so close that he didn't have an opportunity to steady himself for the layout. So a bit of a let-off there for Borderline. Slightly unforced error, you'd have to say. As Fox catches the defense napping, but it just tails out of bounds before Phillips can wrap his arms around it.
Valiant effort, though.
I mean, clever, because he just catches the fact that the defender's got his back turned, doesn't know where the disc is coming, but unfortunately just couldn't quite get the execution right on the delivery.
This is turning into a really epically long point.
Yeah, feels like a big swing in this game now. This is high, and Fox gets there first. Taps it out of the sideline in battle with Charanta.
Loses his hat in the process too, but he's put it back safely on his head.
I think you look a little bit extra cool if the hat comes off. Like, because if the hat comes off and you don't get it, you look like a bit of a chump.
That's very true.
So here's Fox underneath, tight pressure, but that time Bronson gets it in front of Arimo, and he finds Phillips downfield. Ooh, thought about the hammer, then thought better of it. Fox, little tossed backhand, good way to access this break side space to Bronson. Things a little bit static downfield, however, Blades, Phillips toes it in nicely on the sideline. Phillips thinks about the low release flick, instead goes to Fox. Fox gets it out of his hands quickly. 5 minutes left to the end of the game, and Borderline will enter the final 5, up 1 with a goal, finding Bronson.
That was an absolutely, that was a battle of a point, really. Both teams giving absolutely everything. Some really gorgeous throws and some really excellent defense from both sides. I know it wasn't the cleanest point, but you know, it sort of balances out in terms of some great stuff and some not so great stuff.
And when you get those those slightly marathon points, a little bit of a turn fest, and you come out the other side with it in the bag, you do feel like you have a little bit of a mental edge over your opponent, I think.
That is true, but we will have 5 sets of fresh legs for both teams. Although it actually looks like Madden is going back on the pitch.
Yeah, I think they're trying to, you know, I think maybe that Borderline utilising more of their roster, perhaps, in these tight conditions than perhaps the Finns are.
Potentially, but who's going to tell the captain to get off the field?
Right. Here we go. That was Fox again. He popped up nicely off the sand there, actually. Again, utilising the full wingspan to get the D and then drew the mark across. Nice. It's just quick one. I'd say obviously it's one touch, but it's like pass, move, pass, move, pass, move. And that frees up Bronson for the goal. So the pink Euro disc being provided for this tournament. Pulls to the back of the end zone. Another good pull that Hirschbacher will field. Martin tries to chase it down. Can't apply enough pressure there. And finally, well, I say finally, pretty quickly they get it out of the end zone, but they're back in it now. Breaking. Well, I tell you what, if Seth Martin had his head turned around, there was an opportunity for a poach in there, and they get Vasquio running through. Here's Mannanen downfield. Begin to change and transition, there we are, into a red zone set. Hirschbacher down the line, down the open side. Vatari works his way free for the goal. 9 apiece, and again, neither side really able to gain a firm foothold over the other. It is neck and neck. An absolute rip snorter of a game.
I've not heard that before.
Oh, rip snorter is a wonderful word.
I don't disagree. A very clean hold for Team Finland there. It looks like Finland have made that one defensive adjustment to start forcing backhand to neutralise some of these big flick hucks that Borderline were coming up with. So I'll be interested to see if Borderline make their own defensive adjustment, trying to shut down this very flowing, smooth Finnish offense. Yeah,
and it makes sense, A, because we've seen that Fox has those big flick hucks, and B, maybe their other big handling threat, McConville, he's a lefty and he's more than happy to put the lefty backhands deep. So actually, forcing backhand seems like it does feel like it's gummed the offense a little bit for Borderline. We'll see if it does the trick here. Again, Arimo wrenches the pull deep. McConville, doesn't quite field it cleanly. Finds Fox. That'll allow Finland a bit more time to get close. He's got McConville as a reset. Goes instead out in front. One-handed grab by Bronson. Bronson to Phillips, and Phillips just slowed up ever so slightly, and that allowed Sharanta to steam through for the D.
Oh my god, oh my god.
Right?
Big opportunity here for the Finns.
Yeah, taking a break late, would almost do it, and well, like milked. Full fat with cream on top, and milk there from Arimo all the way into the end zone. Puts the Finns up 1 late in this game. 10-9 the score.
And we have 90 seconds left before the soft cap goes. So there is everything still to play for, but Team Finland certainly striking a decisive blow against Borderline with that incredible layout and incredible milking score, as you said.
I think it's that Felix is worried about the sideline advancing, so he's slowing down the cut a little bit. Mentioned it, maybe it's a bit horizontal, it doesn't have the angle. That allows Sharanta to steal in, and then as you mentioned, watch it, is it there, is it there? Bang, there you go, in the end zone. Finland lead 10-9 here, with about a minute left in this game before the cap comes on.
And the Finns in the chat go wild, kind of.
Shout outs to our fans watching in Show Me, shout outs to our fans watching in the US, supporting their Borderline compatriots, and shout outs to everyone watching here for free on OTTV's YouTube channel, wherever you are. Here's Fox now. Fox underneath finds Bedard. Makes the clap catch with those gloved hands. Backhand force again. This time does get it tight. Pass off under pressure to Furland again. Right on the sideline here for McConville. Flick down line for Fox. In stride. The little dish to the break side to Turbo for the score. 10-10. And I tell you what, cap is going to go on any second now. So whatever happens, it'll be 11-10, game to 12.
It's 10-all, no?
Yes, but then the point...
Oh,
so the
yes,
cap's
yes,
gonna
yes.
go now.
Sorry. Oh, it's changed. It's now a bell. They've
That's not the
retired the
hooter.
clown horn.
It's a shame. I was enjoying that. I was enjoying, yeah, the clown horn, the seal hooter, whatever you want to call it.
I will say that little inside shot from Ed Fox, we're going to see it in a minute, but there was some really lovely offense leading up to it as well, under like big pressure from the Finns. You can see them on the shoulder right there.
Yeah, it is right on the sideline, and this is the thing, it's the advantage of the power position, because the defender's on the back shoulder, and so Sharanta's not in a position to get any sort of force on, and that means it's easy for Fox to find the space. Turi on the break side to tie us at 10s.
Fox barely slows down. I mean, you can see he is slowing down. It's definitely not a travel, but just, yeah, I wish I could watch that back 10 times. That's so cool.
In a way, it's almost a shame that was for a score, because then, you know, you feel like if there was more pitch, he could have just bounced it back and forth and dribbled all the way for all eternity.
I hadn't considered that, but yes, that is always really lovely to see. Two players basically running up the pitch, just bouncing the frisbee back and forth.
Running the gauntlet all the way home. So here's Dorf to pull, sunglasses, I sounded very northern for a bit there. Sunglasses, headband, going towards, curling at the back of the end zone, where it is fielded by Mannanen.
Brave to catch that.
But I like it, trying to get your offense going quickly. You've been playing for long enough, you should back yourself to make that catch. Here's Arimo. Arimo will sit this one out into space. Dorf will try and close the door, but Vitari finds the space. The Finns on the precipice of the semi-finals. They are up 11-10 now, game to 12.
And a cheeky little thumbs up to the camera there. That was an absolutely beautiful throw, just sat out perfectly. Oh my God, this is an absolutely stunning game.
Honestly, I love it. I love it when, you know, you can tell that there's excitement and an atmosphere, you know, all the other teams that have finished, you know, on that far sideline, you know, sharing the beers around, drinking in the atmosphere, drinking in the game, you know, drinking in the surroundings. I mean, it doesn't get any better than this.
It really, really doesn't.
So Borderline need to put this point in to take us through to sudden death.
And we'll see this catch again. It's just perfectly coming down towards him, but going to ground regardless, and we'll see that cheeky little thumbs up once more. That is a happy, happy Finn.
I mean, that is about a wider smile I've ever seen a Finn make. I jest. It's just that, you know, they have that reputation for kind of being ice cool. And I tell you what, that reputation, it certainly helps when in a tight game such like this, under a scorching Sardinian sun.
I would also encourage you to mirror that and give this video a thumbs up if you are enjoying this game.
Hey, there you go. There you go. This is deep. McConville watches it. Just about lands out of bounds. Well, he could have got a good read on that, because if he hadn't, would have put them in a real pickle.
Yeah, so now he'll make the long walk up to the brick mark.
So pressure on Borderline, knowing they need to put this point in to prolong this game and keep their semi-final hopes alive.
So it looks like Borderline is setting up in their side stack look again, trying to isolate Bedard.
McConville's, they're just trying to locate the brick mark from the tape on the sidelines. It's brought in. Fox begins to clear out. Shuffles comes through. Break towards the far sideline for Bedard. Bedard's going to put it. This is going to hang. Vitari gets the block. Smashes it down. The Finns will have the disc with a chance to break for victory.
And Vitari just had much, much better positioning than Turi did in that for that throw, rather. So though a valiant effort by Turi to try and reach over his head and get it, just too big of an ask.
Again, it's the risk when you try those shots down the sideline. There's not a huge margin for error. It would have been better off kind of putting his shape to take it more towards the break side. Try and give Vitari a little sniff as possible. So disc gets brought in. Low release. Nearly a bit. I thought McConville thought about it, but wasn't in position. Now Kusanen to Vitari. Dishes off. This is looking fluid. It is looking fundamental from the Finns. Low goes down to the knees, but Vitari is equal to it. Thought about the deep shot to Sharanta, and then thought better of it. Low finds the breakthrough to Kusanen. Kusanen tries to find a dump. Stall count begins to rise, and he goes back to Taivalkoski. Valkoski faking around downfield. Sharanta comes free. Instead, it's the inside shot to Kusanen. Turbo applying the mark, and Turi tries to stymie him for as long as he can. Still count begins to rise. It's a little bit of a floater back to Koivisto. Koivisto with the inside again to Kusanen. Kusanen now to Sharanta.
Some really excellent break side cuts from the Finns there, and more than happy to throw the IOs.
The lefty Sharanta out to space. Catch is made on this sideline by Koivisto. Down the line to Vitari. One pass now could be all it takes to put the Finns in the semi-finals. Vitari with the hammer to the break side. Layout snag for the win.
What an incredible grab, and Turi sits on the floor as the disc is spiked and the Finns blows a kiss towards the camera. What an incredible game, what an incredible point.
Sometimes all you can do is sit back and applaud as the sidelines are doing. That was a phenomenal contest, back and forth throughout. In the end, the Finns kept those tight lines. They maybe just had a little bit more in the tank. The fact they've got even a slightly larger roster maybe just meant they had that extra little bit of gas and a little bit of gas. And I tell you what a way to finish it with a layout hammer snag. The twinkle toes, tip toes footwork at the front of the end zone as well. The Finns are in the semi-finals tomorrow with a 12-10 victory over a borderline side who I must say I have thoroughly enjoyed watching this week.
I will say, I know it's probably going to be said in the Spirit Circle, and it is a cliche, is that game really felt like it could have gone either way. There were numerous points where there were several turns, several kind of heartbreaking turns, and incredible plays from both sides. And it's lovely to see such a really balanced game where really it felt like it could have been either teams at any point.
Yeah, I mean that last point wasn't the cleanest point, and I think they'll ever have had to make. And in the end, you could see Vitari went for the hammer, and he was like, I know that I shouldn't do this. And in the end, he couldn't resist. It's trusting your receiver. It's trusting the GM. And Sharanta makes the heart sign and blows a kiss to the camera for their semi-final place. Borderline will have to fight for 5th place tomorrow.
Gosh, and we will be bringing you more Ultimate coverage from 9:30 tomorrow morning.
So semi-final 1 is the first game. That will be America versus Team Finland after their win today. And the second semi-final, we'll see Man Down take on the Young Legends. So game times for those. First game at 9:30 local time here in Sardinia. Second game at 11 o'clock, and then a little bit of a lunch break. The 5th place game at 2 o'clock. 3rd place game at 3 o'clock. And then the final starts at 4:30 local time here in Villasimius.
So we will be bringing you 5 whole games of Beach Ultimate Frisbee here from the World Great Grandmasters Beach Ultimate Club Championships.
I can hardly wait. And the best part is, after we finish, you don't even have to wait because XUCF starts the day after.
Oh my God, so much Frisbee.
We're too good to you sometimes. And if you want to get notifications whenever the live streams for those games go live, make sure that you like and share the page. Make sure you subscribe. And there is a little bell button that I understand if you get like a big hammer and you whack it, it makes this a very satisfying ringing sound that means that you get notified every time we go live, like the kind of the little chime inside goes back and forth just in time. It's amazing how the internet works. And if you feel like you can support a little bit more as well, you can find the details of our Patreon in the description of all our YouTube videos.
UltiTV does not accept any responsibility for broken laptops as a result of hitting the notification bell with a hammer.
A digital hammer, obviously. Come on.
Just wanted to make it clear.
Honestly, Ali. I'll tell you what, I think that's going to do it for us today.
Yes, I think so too.
Time to enjoy another gorgeous Sardinian sunset and get ourselves ready for finals day tomorrow when, as we mentioned, there are going to be 5 whole games for you to sit back, relax and enjoy. So that is it for us today here in Villasimius on the island of Sardinia. Thank you to everyone who got involved on the chat and on the socials. Thank you to all our patrons. Thank you to
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, Ultimate TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
fund
our work to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.
Ulti.tv